The Kent School District Board meetings are held in public on the second and fourth Wednesdays of the month at 7 p.m. at the Administration Center in accordance to the Washington State Open Public Meetings Act. Regular meetings include presentations and reports dealing with district operations, as well as time set aside for public comment. Now, here are your Kent School District Board of Directors. Welcome to tonight's board meeting.
Welcome to our board meeting. We have a lot of people here. That's nice to see. This is a meeting of the board, which is held in the public to comply with the Open Public Meetings Act. We allow opportunity for public comments later in the agenda. If you would like to address the board, fill out a blue card in the back, and they should be back there right by the strategic goals, and bring it up to the dais. If you would wish to speak to an agenda item, please indicate on the card your name, and your name will be called at that portion of the agenda. You'll have 3 minutes. Let's see. Before we get started, let's see, Dean Ficken, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have an announcement as far as school tomorrow. It is scheduled to resume in the morning with a regular schedule. The power problems from last night's windstorm have been steadily improving throughout the day. School is scheduled to resume in the morning with regular schedules. At this writing, we still have 2 schools without power, but crews are working to resolve those issues, and we are hopeful there will be no localized disruptions. Any changes will be reported on the district website and local media. Should there be any unforeseen closures, family and staff will be notified by phone. So here's hoping. Dr. Stedry, are there any changes in the agenda?
No, there are not.
All right. So we have new administrators, and would like to have Dr. Beeman come up and lead those introductions.
President Strauss, members of the board, Dr. Stedry, this is always a very enjoyable time on the agenda for me as we get to bring to you and introduce to you either newly promoted or newly employed administrators. And as key members of the leadership team, we're thrilled for you to meet them officially. And this evening we happen to have some family members that are joining them, so we'd like to have the opportunity to introduce them to you as well. Sure. The first one that I would like to present to you is Mariah Martin. And Mariah, if you'd come on up, please. Yes, you stand and get a little embarrassed, but Mariah's a very familiar face to you. We've had the opportunity as an organization to work with Mariah for a period of time now, and we've come to truly admire the leadership that she brings. The interactions that she has led, whether they're with colleagues across the district, teachers, paraeducators, principals, certainly the various unions and associations, and indeed all of our partners, higher education and community members. She represents you, she represents our school district and our community at the highest level. We've benefited from her organization. You certainly have received several of her written reports as well as multiple presentations before you at open board meetings. So it truly is my honor to present her to you, not just as a member of the Human Resources team, but certainly as an important leader in the district, as our new Executive Director of Human Resources. Mariah?
I'd like to introduce my family, so I'm going to make them stand up. Brad. My husband, Daryl, and this is my oldest son, Noah, who's a 9th grader, and my youngest son, Caleb, who is a 5th grader. And they came all the way from Bainbridge Island tonight, so that's how much they love me.
Thank you. And at this time, I'm going to call forward Robert Humes. Robert is behind me. Excuse me. Exit. Robert, come on up here, please. Robert is the newest member of the Human Resources team. He's going to be serving the organization and the district as Assistant Director in Human Resources. And just to tell you a little bit of something about Robert and what we saw in him and why it was important that we try to lure him to the Kent School District. Robert most recently served for the Department of Revenue with the state of Washington, very instrumental member of their HR team, both in the recruitment and the retention of individuals. He brings a wealth of experience to us in working with issues of diversity, in working with issues of retention, and I can tell you on a very personal level, he will help give us, both HR as well as the district, a little bit more oomph, a little bit more focus on our classified employees, and we're really looking forward to that leadership from Robert. I can tell you he is just in his second week. But you really wouldn't know that. To use the cliche, he has hit the ground running, and he has some pretty good speed. So we appreciate that, and welcome, Robert.
Thank you, Dr.
And if you've got members of your family,
Absolutely.
please.
My mother is here. She doesn't like standing up, but my mother is here. Hey, beautiful. My girlfriend, Marissa, is here, and my mom's best friend, Keita, has come down and visited. Thank you.
And at this time, I'm going to ask Luann Decker to come forward and make an introduction.
It's my pleasure to introduce Shannon Heckelsmiller. So Shannon, please come up. After teaching at Cedar Heights for nearly 20 years for science, we're able to kind of, I'm going to use Dr. Beeman's word, of lure her away from the building and really bring her science leadership to the central office for health and fitness and science. And Shannon was, she was here up front just a few months ago when I introduced her as one of our new specialists paid and funded from the Race to the Top grant. And then when we had a vacancy, she applied for the coordinator position, and we're so excited to have her. She, just to give her a little bit of history, she had her bachelor's in biology from the College of Idaho, a master's in curriculum and instruction from Seattle Pacific, and she is a national board certified teacher. And so we were so excited to have her leadership within science, within health and fitness, and replacing someone who had, Gita, who had done just a wonderful job in that position as well. And Shannon has just picked it right up because she was part of that great professional development and support that comes from that office. So we're real excited to have her leadership in central office in the position. So Shannon.
And I just really want to thank you for this opportunity to continue serving the district in this way after being here for, as she said, 20 years already. Mm-hmm. And my husband, David Heckelsmiller, is here, and my friend Stacy Fox from Cedar Heights, and my two daughters who actually are Kent Lake graduates, but they are not here this evening. Very well prepared, though, by the district. One of them is a CNA, and the other one is in graduate school right now. So Thank you very much to the district for that.
And at this time, we'd like, as is our normal custom, we'd like to take some photos.
And I apologize. Debbie Strauss, President Strauss, is with us in Kansas now.
Yes, I'm in, well, actually, I'm in Oklahoma, but I'll be in Kansas tomorrow.
Okay, you're still
So,
in
yeah.
Michigan? No?
Pardon?
Can't, you are in Kansas? Tomorrow.
Almost. I'm right across the border. I'm in Oklahoma.
Oh, Oklahoma. I missed that on the last telling. Okay.
Well, yeah, no, I'm not gonna go there.
I'll be in Kansas tomorrow.
Okay.
Say hello to Toto.
Our next agenda item is the University of Washington Parent Engagement Design Team, and Dr. Del Giudice is going to give us information about this.
Thank you. Good evening, board members, President Strauss, Dr. Stedry.
Kathy, and ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to ask some folks to come up here and join me at the podium because they're going to do the work this evening, and I'm going to introduce them. Last year, under the leadership of Dr. Ann Ishimaru and Joe Lott from the University of Washington, Dr. Melanie Stry and Millicent Boris-Chade from Kent, we did some work to bring out the authentic parent voice in further developing our parent involvement curriculum. And these folks were the team who worked together to help draft some materials that would be original and available for us to use not only in Kent, but in the region. Different and, as I said, an extension of what we're already doing in PASA, which is our leased curriculum from PK. So I'm going to ask these folks to come up. They're going to introduce themselves one by one, and they're going to share a short presentation with you. Good evening, Ann.
Good evening, President Strauss, school board members, Dr. Sedri and Kathy. Thank you so much for allowing us to share with you this evening. We're very happy to be here. As you heard, I'm Dr. Ann Ishimaru. I'm on the faculty in the College of Education at the University of Washington, and I'm here with my colleague, Dr. Joe Lott, as well as a number of folks from the University of Washington. We're very pleased this evening to be able to share with you just a little bit about the process that we've been through. Go ahead and advance it. As you likely know, Kent School District is part of a broader collective impact initiative, the 7 districts in South King County and South Seattle. And that's, as I like to say, is a fancy word for saying all hands on deck. And so we've been very fortunate these last 3 years to work with the Kent School District as a partner within the context of that effort to really try to understand and to support the efforts in engaging parents and families in building more equitable collaborations. And so I'd like to acknowledge there are members of my research team here this evening. There are students, if you could stand for a minute. These are members of my research team back there. There's a group of them. Thank you. And this kind of work also happened with some really critical support of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the Roadmap Project, and Lily Liu from the Gates Foundation and Anthony Shoecraft are both here as well from the Roadmap Project. We acknowledge them. So when we think about all of us having an important role to play in improving education, we think parents especially have a particularly important role, and the relationship with teachers and other educators in the educational system. And so some folks kind of think, well, parents, why do they matter? Well, we know actually from the research that schools with strong parent community ties in one particular longitudinal study, they were 10 times more likely to improve in math and 4 times more likely to improve in reading. So parents have a very profound impact, not only their own individual children's success, but also on potentially on the improvement of schools so that we ensure that all children have high quality education. So we decided to come together based on the results of our case study in the first year, and we'll be sharing the report about our case study from the first year. We decided to gather together a group of parents and educators, principals, and also some district leaders. And we said, what would happen if we started a process of creating curriculum with the notion that parents are experts on their own learning, on their own interests, their needs and priorities, and on the ways that they want to learn. So we started a process from that premise. And we really thought about what would it look like to try to build relationships that really make the kind of difference for our students that I was referring to in the research. And we did this through something called a design process and a design team. And that simply means coming up with ideas, trying them out, redesigning, and going into again. So as a result of this process, we've created drafts of a number of lessons, and especially we'd like to appreciate the teachers who helped kind of take that to the finishing line. You'll see here one of the things that's interesting is when we asked parents what their priorities and needs were, some of those things were slightly different from what you see in the traditional parent curriculum. And other things were very similar to the kinds of things that educators also feel are very important. So we do have this curriculum that we're very excited to be able to release and share across the region and perhaps beyond. This was something, this process was of great interest when I was able to present at the White House Symposium on Transformative Family Engagement. So the impacts and the work that are happening here in Kent School District are having repercussions and impacts on a national level even. But beyond the lessons themselves, we were really after two other things. One was a set of what we call design guidelines, guidelines to help us think about how we might engage and partner with parents and families in ways that reflect their approaching them as fellow educational leaders and helping to shape the educational systems to ensure that all of our children have the kind of equitable education they deserve. The other thing we were after were the relationships, the capacity building, the conversations, the deep sharing, and the learning, the collective and shared learning that unfolded amongst members of our design team. And so that's what we would like to really have an opportunity for you to hear a little bit about this evening. And we'd first like to formally acknowledge the incredible commitment, the very hard work, and the leadership of all of the members of our design team.
Good evening. My name is Joe Lott, a faculty member in the College of Education at the University of Washington. And on behalf of the University of Washington's Equitable Parent-School Collaboration Research Project, we'd like to present this certificate of appreciation to the members of our design team. And it says this certificate is presented in deep appreciation for your outstanding contributions to the 2014 Kent School District University of Washington Parent Curriculum Design Team. Your commitments and leadership are making a difference for the students, families, and communities of our region. So when I call your name, please come up and get your certificate. Not everybody from our design team is here with us tonight, but I'm going to call everybody's name so you can get a sense and appreciation for who they are. Ebony Seeley, Norma Ordonez, Jennifer Young. Do you need to say something? Oh, no, not that. Ba Tran. Latoria Dunju, who's not here with us tonight. Maxine Nguyen. Blanca Gonzalez, who is not here with us tonight. Veronica Abraham. Luis Ordelia, who's not here with us tonight. Sarah Stoddard, who also is not here with us tonight. Paige Meyer. And Beth Wallen. Dr. Millicent Bordershade. Is that right? Michelle Schramm. Teresa Linders. Okay, so that's it for our design team certificates, and now we'd like some members of our design team to address the board and share just a few experiences that they've had with us.
Good evening. My name is Maxine Nguyen. I am a parent of 4 children who all attend the Kent School District at Pantelic Elementary School, Mill Creek Middle School, and Kent Meridian High School. We would like to thank the school board for recognizing all the hard work and commitment that each and everyone contributed to on this project. This has been an empowering experience. I had the opportunity to go out into the community and start a conversation with other parents to get feedback on issues and concerns that parents faced. It allowed me to see how important it was for parents to have a platform to network with other parents, to build relationships, and offer support and resources. These lessons that were created represent parents' voices on current and important issues for parents by parents, but most of all, they represent progress of the relationship between parents and schools. They are essential and can be the bridge that opens up communication barriers. Having a team of people united by one purpose is the key to ensuring the academic success of every child. This experience gave me a deeper sense of accountability, perseverance, and tools to initiate change in a positive and effective way. It gave me the inspiration to inspire other parents to get involved. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Veronica Abraham. I'm a first-generation Latina and also a graduate from Kent Lake High School. I'd rather not disclose the year. Now I'm a proud mom of a fourth grader at Panther Lake Elementary. It is an honor to be standing here in front of you, but the biggest pleasure is to see the beginning of what we truly hope is it becomes a sustainable and solid partnership among parents and schools. If there is one thing that stood out from the design team, is the desire that parents have to interact with one another, for support, socialization, to share resources, build community, or whatever is on their agenda. The need and the desire of parents, no matter what the reason is to have a platform where we could communicate openly, feel comfortable about sharing our concerns, help each other out, and listen to other parents who might have gone through the same experience. We are thankful for the opportunity to work with the UDAP and with the Kent School District, and appreciate the good intentions of wanting parents to get more involved in the education of our children. At the same time, we need to recognize that the model and platform being used right now is somewhat restrictive and not so available for every parent in the Kent School District. However, as Maxine mentioned, it has inspired parents and is building a momentum. Please do not let the spark go, because our kids deserve it and our community needs it.
My name is Norma Ordóñez. Tengo dos niños
I have two children
en Kent Elementary.
in elementary school.
Doy gracias
I want to say thank you
por tomarme en cuenta en este programa
for participating in this program.
y que me ha ayudado a crecer como padre de familia
It's helped me for growing like the mom.
y saber la importancia que
I
tiene
know they're very important
en relacionarse uno
for relation
en
with the school
en la educación de nuestros hijos.
and with the education with my child.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Teresa Linders, and I'm a teacher. I teach fifth grade at Panther Lake, and both of my daughters are graduates of Kent Ridge High School, so I've also been a parent in the Kent School District for 20-some years. So anyway, when I was asked to volunteer as a member of this design team on parent engagement, I really had no idea what I was getting into, but I was excited to have the opportunity. And in the 6 months that I worked with the parents and the educators and the UW staff on this project, I just have to say that I think it's made me a better member of my community, and it's also made me a better teacher. It really expanded my vision of what parent engagement means and what it can look like and what it can be. And after listening to the stories of the parents and watching them come up with their own curriculum and helping with the design of the classes for that, I just feel just honored to have been a part of the process, and just much more open to working in that partnership with the parents of the students in my classroom, at my school, in the community. I really feel like this kind of parent engagement and the parent voice is what's been missing in some of our efforts to reform education and make sure all students achieve. And so I'm just so excited at the potential that's here and just honored to be a part of it. So thank you.
Good evening, President Strauss, Dr. Strudry, board members, and Kathy. It's great to see you. I get to talk to you a little bit about my experience in terms of what I was able to enter into and the possibilities that I see ahead for us. So I was very excited to be asked to involve my school in this design team work. I was familiar with some parent academy work going on in the Kent School District, and I was trying to get in on that, and this provided an opportunity for Panther Lake to do that. That required me to recruit some parents that were representative of the very diverse community that is at Panther Lake, and that was easy in some cases. I had some parents who were really ready to go and looking for these leadership opportunities, and some other parents that were kind of like, why are you calling me, Miss Wallen? Why do you want me to do this? And, you know, parents that were very involved in the traditional sense, very supportive of the school and their kids, but not really comfortable with that idea of stepping out as a leader beyond that more traditional role that we know of. Well, that changed very quickly. We all came together on Saturdays and evenings, and once the parents heard the mission of this work and what the intended outcome was, it was great to see them just shift in terms of being really honored that they were asked to be the voice of the parents in this work. And then the educators were asked to leave for a couple of weeks because they really, really wanted the parent voice. And some of the parents were a little bit nervous about that and looking at me like, where are you going? Why are you leaving the room here? And we assured them they would all be okay. And our great UW partners took wonderful care of them. And we came back in about 2.5 to 3 weeks later, and the change in the parents was observable. They were so committed to this work, passionate, speaking up. They had great ideas and had done a lot of generating of ideas for all of the lessons that were eventually developed. What I was really excited about is when they presented us with this list of things that they wanted to become experts on and create lessons about so they could teach other parents. It was the same things that we've been wanting to engage parents around. They wanted to know about the programs we have in Kent and the policies and how to access all of the systems that are in Kent. But they also want to know about Common Core and setting goals with their kids and preparing them for school and college and beyond. So that was incredibly affirming and exciting. And I am just so incredibly proud of the parents and the work that they've done. And this whole group, we had a lot of fun together, a lot of laughs. We tied ourselves up in a big knot one day and took us forever to get out, but we did some team building and just became quite a close group. I'm always proud of my Panther Lake parents. I'm particularly proud of this group here that's with you tonight. And I see this as a great possibility for the Kent School District. These parents are not going to let go of this. They are very passionate about moving this work forward, and so we look forward to your support, and thank you for your time tonight.
I know we would love to hear more from these folks, and we really appreciate the time that they've given us to share their thoughts and their wonderful project. As you know, we're working to develop a master plan for parent education in Kent, and we'll be looking for other opportunities to build curriculum, to build experiences for parents, taking advantage of all the expertise of this group and others in the community who can help us. So thank you. Let's give these folks a big round of applause. Thank you very much.
We have 2 proclamations to read. First one is the National Native American Heritage Month, and Russ Hanscom is going to read that one for us, I believe.
Sure. You know, thank you for the opportunity to read this one. I don't know if the audience knows or board members know, but I have the distinct pleasure of working for the Puyallup Nation. And it's a wonderful culture to be a part of, and it certainly has made my life much more interesting than working outside of that environment. And I just thought I'd let you know there's, I just looked it up, and now I don't want to misquote it. Within our nation, there are 562 federally recognized nations. 229 are in Alaska, and in this state, 29 are federally recognized. So the state of Washington really does have a strong representation of the Native American culture. So it's my privilege to read this proclamation. National Native American Heritage Month, whereas the history and culture of our great nation have been significantly influenced by American Indians and indigenous peoples, and whereas the contributions of the American Indians have enhanced the freedom, prosperity, and greatness of America today, and whereas their customs and traditions are respected and celebrated as part of a rich legacy throughout the United States, and whereas Native American Awareness Week began in 1976 and recognition was expanded by Congress and approved by President George H. Bush in August 1990, designating the month of November as National American Indian Heritage Month. Proclamations under variants on the same name, including Native American Heritage Month and National American Indian and Alaska Native Heritage Month, have been issued each year since 1994. And whereas, in honor of the National Native American Heritage Month, community celebrations as well as numerous cultural, artistic, educational, and historical activities have been planned. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the Kent School District proclaims the month of November as National Native American Heritage Month in the Kent School District and urges all citizens to join in this observance. Signed this day, 12th day of November.
And I'd like to invite Teresa Lockrum, Native American Academic and Cultural Liaison, to come up and accept the award. You want me to do it so you don't shake hands? He's sick, so he's not going to shake hands.
My husband's at home.
Yeah.
Teresa, which tribe are you affiliated with? I'm just,
Sure.
Good evening, Madam President, in the Netherlands again. Dr. Stedry. So I am Cherokee Eastern Band, Long Hair Clan on my mother's side, and I am an adopted Tlingit, which are from Southeast Alaska, and my native name is Gagan Uxie. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. And I've asked Dr. Burchard to read the American Education Week proclamation.
Whereas public education is the backbone of our democracy, providing young people with the tools they need to maintain our nation's precious values of freedom, civility, and equality. And whereas by equipping young Americans with both practical skills and broader intellectual abilities, schools give them hope for and access to a productive future. And whereas public education employees, be they educators, substitute educators, higher education faculty and staff, custodians, teachers, administrators, bus drivers, clerical workers, food service professionals, skilled trades workers, health and student service workers, security guards, technical employees, librarians, educational staff associates, or other support staff, all work tirelessly to serve our children and communities with care and professionalism. And whereas public schools are the foundations of neighborhoods and communities, bringing together adults and children, educators and volunteers, business leaders and elected officials in a common purpose. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the Kent School District proclaim the week of November 16th through 22nd, 2014 as American Education Week in the Kent School District and urge all citizens to join in this observance. And do we have some of our union groups here to accept the proclamation? So come on over here, all of our unions that are represented.
want to take a moment. And now, Dr. Del Giudice, will you present information on the Harvard Graduate School Parent Engagement Institute? That's a mouthful.
Thank you. Once again this evening, I have the pleasure to introduce a group who's going to share with you. Last summer, under the leadership of the wonderful Community Center for Education Results, aka CCER, and the Roadmap team, a team of educators from the South King County area was supported to attend the Harvard Parent Education Initiative Institute. I hope I got that title right. Several of those who attended are here tonight to share their experiences and a little of what they learned. And Dr. Boris Shade, would you be so kind as to come up, introduce your team, and begin your presentation, please?
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board. I have my entire team. Since you're here, would you please join us? Come on. Shoecraft, if you'd like to join us. Mr. Shoecraft?
Come on now.
Come on.
Anthony's not shy. Come on.
So I'd like to start off by saying, first of all, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity that we had in order for us to attend the Harvard Graduate School of Family Engagement Institute this past summer. We have our team here represented by principals, family, our community members, and we have Mr. Shoecraft here representing the Roadmap region as well. Our overview for tonight, we're going to just tell you about the things that we learned when we went to Harvard and the things that we plan to come back and do here in Kent School District. So we'll begin with my journey. Word. Initially, she wasn't going to be here because she was going to be in class, but since class was canceled, she was able to join us this evening. But we have a presentation prepared because we thought that she would be absent. So if you would take a moment and indulge us and watch her presentation.
When I was in school in Vietnam, I was always one of the top 10 students in my class. My father told me, "Keep up the good work, and we send you to America for college." 20 years later, I am in America, but I haven't had the opportunity to go to college yet. Instead, I decided to share my dream with my daughter. We agree she must go to a university. I have tried so hard to support her, to guide her, and to find the best way to achieve higher education. It had not been easy. I unfortunately did not have good luck like other parents. No teachers reached out to me. I had to reach out to them. I learned day by day and worked alone doing so. I wanted to be involved, but after I paid for PTA membership during the first school year, I never saw or heard from them again. Then the next school year, I wrote another check for PTA membership. I never attend any PTA meetings because I was never notified of when or where they were held. It might be that invitation was sent home, but I didn't know what they were, or that I received phone calls in English that I didn't understand. It could have been that school didn't need me there. I will never know. I have been so many school conferences, but the only sentence I really understood was, "Your daughter is doing well." All I could do was to whisper, "Thank you," and go home. There were a lot of questions in my mind, but I didn't know how to ask. An interpreter was never provided at that time. I can tell though with the same problem now. Yes, I have walked a mile in your shoe. I have been through it, and now I'm here to help. The Kent School District Parent Academy for Student Achievement Program is my dream come true. I decided to join PASA program after learning its curriculum. A year later, I became a facilitator. It was interesting and I actually learned from my participating parents too. I was selected to attend the Family Engagement Conference at Harvard. I had been asked to study the book Beyond the Bake-Sale before leaving to Harvard. Thanks to Dr. Borche, who strictly made me to do my homework until the last day in town. The book gives me a clear vision of family engagement work and how important it is to build a strong family engagement in each school, district, and community. At Harvard, I was among dedicated educator, administrator, superintendents, principals, teachers, and parents. I was so nervous at first, and then I asked questions and shared my work experience and had good feedback from everyone there. I was so proud to share PASA with other national educators. I have learned more the recent release U.S. Department of Education Dual Capacity Framework for Family School Partnership and building the capacity for effective family engagement. I am also interested in the new tool for linking family engagement to student learning. One section, Parent-Child Learning Clubs, feature a great model to involve parents in their child's learning. Mr. Ficken, principal at Emerald Park Elementary, asked if I could come to his school and help with Vietnamese family. My answer is yes. Mr. Ficken, I am glad you were there in the section. My challenge before I went to Harvard was how to engage parents who don't want to be involved. Some parents who are hard to reach might work 2 or sometimes 3 jobs and don't know or understand why their child is failing in school. I have some of the answers now. I can reach out when opportunity arises. We are parents coming back home from Harvard. We can do it. We can work together and find an effective way to engage the families. The knowledge we have gained at the Institute, our own experiences, and the great support from Role Math Project will help us to succeed. We are the voices. We will shout out to other parents. Here is one of the best ways to lead your child to achieve higher education. Thank you, PASA, for making my dreams come true.
And so we are excited, extremely excited to have PASA, to have the opportunity, and now with some extended opportunities for curriculum, parent curriculum. We're just excited. We're going to be talking about this evening, what is family engagement? A framework for family engagement and framework in practice. And so as we can see from Mai's presentation, PASA and family engagement has really, really given our parents a voice in Kent School District. And because of the family engagement policy, because of the work done by the Family Engagement Task Force, this has all been possible. And so we're going to move now into our family engagement framework.
Good evening. Again, it looks like there's a theme tonight, eh? Through the school improvement plans, you saw family engagement, and through the University of Washington, and as well as our group when we went to Harvard. And the piece that struck most of us is from parent involvement to family engagement, and kind of what the difference is there, kind of pushing the envelope a bit. And so we looked at things that are linked to learning, so kind of making that really a purposeful engagement. kind of that relational respect and respecting other people's knowledge, the kind of the greater knowledge. Being collaborative, being co-producers and co-creators rather than just being creators as an educational institution. Having it be very interactive, kind of increasing capacity and efficacy of all parties, and building networks, as you saw in the last presentation, as well as what you just heard from what Mai said, kind of that transformative family engagement. And just a couple examples that we've already seen this fall. We have reading and math nights that are being planned, kind of co-produced, co-created by the PTSAs and the parents as well as the faculty together, kind of putting those ideas together. PASA, where parents are teaching other parents. Mai mentioned what we'd like, kind of a dream of ours, at least to start at Emerald Park, is to have kind of parents and kids co-learning, kind of like a book study together in Vietnamese language with like a literacy coach and families and kids together, kind of doing something a little bit differently that way. At Scenic Hill, they have a real parents read, so parents are reading in their native languages. At Kent Ridge, in terms of family engagement, some of the high school students are actually coming to Emerald Park and like either tutoring after school in mathematics or helping throughout the day in writing and or reading. And then there's a National Family Engagement Day that's November 20th, and we're actually celebrating kind of a multicultural evening that night at Emerald Park, where this actually came from the PASA parents last year, something that's kind of almost organic. And so we actually have staff and families and students that are all kind of participating and sharing their gifts and traditions and talents in a multicultural kind of landscape.
All right. Thank you, Dean. And so in looking at this and talking about sustainability and support along with accountability, I'm going to be addressing the part of Association of Washington School principals. In essence, in looking at school as a structure, a school, the reality of it is the principals, for the most part, is a gatekeeper, because part of their job is to protect kids and make sure that the learning happens. The other part is also they have to be able to go and bring in resources. So in looking at that and looking at the dual role of family engagement and coupling that and sharing this system-wide and looking at the evaluation process and how critical and crucial family engagement is and how it ties to the 8 criteria in which principals are evaluated. And I'll just read the 8 just to give you an idea of what we're talking about, and then you can think and reflect on how parent involvement actually affects these. So the 8 criteria, 1 being creating a culture, 2, ensuring school safety. I'm a part of my daughter's team is dogs. I had to pay $30 for a shirt. Anyway, I got issues with that. 3, planning with data. And that's not always the data that we get from an assessment, but the data in turn we get when we have dialogues with our different parents and says, oh, wow, I didn't know you had this in common with such and such. That is still real life data that isn't always, quote unquote, within the school, but it's important in terms of helping student growth. For aligning curriculum, we've heard tonight how that's important. Improving instruction. We know prior knowledge is key, in which creates fertile ground, which to grow new knowledge. Managing resources. Our parents are not only a customer, but they're also a resource in terms of they bring a wealth of knowledge as well as resources. And engaging community. We've had several cases where a parent was able to support schools by bringing in other community groups, such as Boeing, et cetera, to help with our STEM programs. And then number 8 is huge, because if we look at the great diversity of Kent, we're talking about closing the gap, and it's paramount. And what we know is if you have gap closing skills, strengths, and strategies, those same strategies can be just as effective for high cap kids, where the converse is not always true. So when we're able to do those things and bring those together, parent engagement and family engagement plays a key role in that. And so this is the same message in which when we sit and we talk with principals in terms of working with them and getting them to understand that family engagement isn't a thing, it is an overarching theme of the school. Thank you.
Good evening. As you've heard, family engagement is not a thing. It's not something we do to families, and it's not just about getting them in to hear our message. It is clear from research that active family engagement strategies are significantly impacting on student achievement, and that's really what it boils down to. How does this impact student achievement? It impacts it greatly through increased capabilities on the part of our students. They have a greater understanding of their foundational skills, relation to the standards that we're teaching. Increased confidence and self-efficacy. When families are actively engaged, our students believe that they have a place in their building, and they believe that they have capabilities that will help them to achieve their goals. Increased connections. When families are engaged, it sends a message to their children that you belong at your school. They're more connected to their students, their fellow students, they're more connected to staff. Further, there's increased cognition, an increase in the amount that our students understand and believe the values of their education. So it's tremendously significant that we actively put into place family engagement practices that reach out beyond what the traditional parent involvement piece is. In our learning at Harvard, we realized that there's a continuum. So despite the fact that we know how tremendously important parent and family engagement is, there's truly a continuum of where we fall in terms of how we're actively implementing those practices in our own buildings. This is true nationwide, but it's true here in Kent. From the Fortress School, which is where students and families, or excuse me, parents and families are not invited at all, that they have no belief or no welcoming at the schools, to the Come If We Call You school, where parents and families are invited to come to school, but on the school's terms, to the open door policy, where you have, evening events and parents come in and they help, but again, they're helping us, to a true partnership, where families, parents are coming into the schools and working in partnership with the actual school itself in symbiotic relationship to make our students' achievement grow. We have schools across Kent in all 4 of these categories. And we have some great successes here in Kent. PASA is a huge success. What we saw earlier with the UW design team, huge success, but we have a ways to go. And so Dr. Borshade will talk next after Brandy about what our next steps are. But I think it's really important to understand that despite the fact that we have some great successes, we do need to take a critical look at where our schools are individually and where we fit in that continuum. We do, however, have some pretty tremendous success stories. One that I will share from Pine Tree, we had an aunt, a Tia, of one of our students sign up for PASA. She feels very strongly about it. And I think it was the last session when we revealed to her that she needed to turn in her timesheets. She hadn't been turning in her timesheets, and she said, "Oh my God, I get paid for this." She had no clue. She really feels so strongly and had an avenue for how to reach other families that she was just coming, she thought. And that's just one example of someone who was hungry, thirsty for an opportunity to serve. I had another parent come to me after conferences. Her conference wasn't as successful as she had wanted. She had some questions she still needed answers for. So she knew through PASA that she could come see me and get those answers. My parents are feeling far more empowered than they had been in the past. Brandy has some examples of other moments of success as well.
Hi, guys. I work at on the King County Housing Authority sites in Kent East Hill. And in Birch Creek, our 2 schools that we feed into were the first 2 PASA schools of Millennium and Pine Tree. And so our families were some of the first families to actually go through PASA. And actually, some of our families are taking PASA for the 3rd time because they're still gaining so much knowledge from it. So with this power and empowerment they're getting from PASA, what I'm finding with families is that they are taking the information from PASA and they are feeling like they can then go forward and share it with other families and encourage other families to do more. So I have families now that we've started a community cafe, which is a gathering. They're hosting principals and community-based organizations that are coming into our community And I'm helping them facilitate it as the parent engagement facilitator there on site, but they are hosting it completely on their own. They will have a table group with their native language. We are interpreting to the principals instead of the other way around. And they're sharing their hopes and dreams for their children. They're sharing what they're doing with their children and the things they still need to make their children successful in school. And we're finding that there's a lot of commonalities, which I heard when University of Washington shared, that's going on between all of the different parents. I have parents asking for more trainings. I've sent parents to the Kaleidoscope Play and Learns facilitator training. We have parents now leading groups, whereas before King County Housing has contracted outside organizations to do. Now parents are running these groups themselves. I have a parent now that is a REWA, which is the Refugee Women's Alliance. She is now a parent facilitator and a parent educator, and she's gone through the PASA program twice and also recruits now for PASA. So it's just so powerful that once you give parents this little bit of knowledge and information and just that little bit of empowerment, that they just run with it. And I really can see just firsthand how impactful it is. And I love when the tables are turned and all of the staff comes on site through the conferences we have. We have middle schools now coming to conferences at our site at Birch Creek. Last year, the kids kept coming to me and asking me, why are all of the teachers Christmas caroling through this site? And I said, no, they're doing conferences. They're not Christmas caroling through the site. But it was great because they thought it was just, they saw teachers reaching out to them and meeting parents where they were. And we had 44 out of, I think, 40 out of 54 families didn't go to conference, and almost all of them then attended once the teachers came to our site. And I hope that we have that same success this year, so we'll be doing that soon. But I really feel like this is just such a great program, and we have such a better understanding of how to reach out to our parents now through going to this. So I really am just blessed to have the opportunity to have gone. So thank you, guys.
Thank you. One of the things that when we learned when we were at Harvard was how parents would interpret or what we should look for in parents as they receive information from our academy. And some of the things that they talked about were the increased capabilities, increased confidence in parents and self-efficacies, increased connections and increased cognition, beliefs, and values. And they talked about these as our proximal outcomes versus our distal outcomes. And when you deal with the proximal outcomes of the parents, first of all, they have to understand that they have the power, they have a voice, and once they understand who they are and that they have a voice and that this is a shared vision, then you will begin to see more outcomes as it relates to student achievement increasing. But first of all, the parents have to understand who they are, where they fit in the picture in terms of this being a shared vision, a co-authored journey. And so some of the success stories, we have several of our PASA parents now, as a result, they're back in school or they're attending school for the first time because now they understand there's an avenue for them to go back to school or attend school. We have our high school, Kent Meridian, participating in PASA, and they had their National Parent Engagement Day on October 22nd, where they had parents come to school. And it was reported that for the first time, they had more parents coming to school this year, and they saw more of the PASA parents in the school building. We also talked about GPA of students increasing. So at Meridian Middle School last year, once the parents understood how they could monitor their students' grades on Skyward, a student went from a 0.6 GPA to a 2.27 because the parent was then on Skyward asking questions and then knew that they could go and talk to the teacher in the event that this child had a missing assignment and not just saying, oh, no, the grade wasn't put in. No, I know the grade was put in because I had a conversation with your teacher. So that's going from theory, practice, and then to our results. And then our next steps, we're talking about we're going to be assessing the intersection of family engagement with the AWSP, as Mr. Brown spoke about. And then we want to provide professional development on becoming a distinguished principal as it relates to the entire framework, and assess where our district is as a family. And so if you look, we have the Venn diagram where there's an intersection of family engagement in all of the things that we're working on and that you've heard from or about tonight. I'd like to continue with the music, but I'll stop. Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, I'd like to say how very proud I am of the staff from Student and Family Support Services and the way we're looking at things holistically, both from afar and also from the heart, because those are the things that make the difference when you reach out to your community. The theme this evening has really been partnerships. You've heard of our partnership with the University of Washington, with the staff there and the parents and the staff from the schools and the research fellows. You heard of our partnership with CCER, who supported taking our folks to Harvard and sharing in that wonderful learning for the parents, the teachers, and the students. And the next partnership opportunity I'm going to talk to you after Kathy announces the item. The Puget Sound Coalition.
Oh.
But I
Karen,
guess
yeah, okay.
maybe I can go ahead.
So our next item is the Puget Sound Coalition for College and Career Readiness, and Dr. Del Giudice will lead us.
Thank you very much. Okay, so one of the partnership building opportunities that supported the teamwork in the Puget Sound ESD region started out as the Puget Sound Caucus of Superintendents and Community College Presidents. Now this PSESD Coalition is called the Coalition for College and Career Readiness. It's the same participants. And the work they're doing is paving the way for new efforts to enhance the high school experience through a rich partnership with the community colleges. Tonight, Hillary Loeb from Puget Sound ESD will share more information about this coalition and ask for your support. Hillary, would you please come up?
So President Strauss, school board members, Kathy, and Dr. Sedry, thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. I think the theme of partnerships is rich, and I'm glad to follow such rich conversations about parent and community engagement. I began my career teaching in Berkeley's Summer Bridge program for students who are first generation and underrepresented on the campus, and have had the opportunity to work as a researcher for the College Success Foundation. So I hope you'll just take away my passion for, I think, the opportunity for school districts and colleges and other community partners to work together. I'm going to talk briefly about the history of the coalition. I think some of you may be familiar with it. And then share our coalition compact, which is a set of agreements between school district leaders and community college presidents about a range of practices that will hopefully improve the transition from high school to college for our students. And lastly, we have a board resolution that we've drafted that we hope you will sign and join other school districts and colleges in this work. So the next two slides really address why we need to foster collaboration across systems. What you see here is that we have progress to make in terms of the South King County College enrollment. We're hoping that close to 3/4 will enroll by 2020 so that we're on track for our students to earn a degree or career credential. Our work is also really anchored in, I think, a need for greater attention to equity. This chart, I think, is just a call to action. What it tells a story of is students, young adults who've earned a bachelor's degree. The top line refers to students who are in the top income quartile. And the bottom is the students in the lowest income quartile. And if you are one of those students, you have just about a 1 in 10% chance of earning a bachelor's degree by the time you turn 24. Of course, I also need to learn how to work with technology. Every system is different. So the purpose of the coalition, as Dr. Del Gaiache has said, is really to build a seamless transition. There are a number of policies and practices that are tied to student support and student success that we know are working. And our work has been to learn together and to make some decisions about what we'll be doing as a region to better improve students' opportunities. The members are the colleges and school districts in the roadmap region. And we also work in collaboration with OSPI, the Roadmap Project, and the University of Washington. Bellevue College also recently joined the coalition as we learned that a large number of students from Renton Public Schools were attending the college, and we wanted to find a way to better support those students. So what we're talking about today is a compact. It's a set of agreements between school districts and community and technical colleges. There are a number of policies, some of which Kent has really been an early adopter and pioneer in supporting students on the path to college. There are strategies in the compact that focus on what school districts should be doing. Some of those include increasing access to rigorous coursework and supporting students, providing access to gatekeeping tests like the PSAT and SAT, and ensuring that there is a welcoming and supportive environment for all students. Work in colleges is focused on supporting really high-quality orientation experiences and also using multiple measures to support students' appropriate placement in college-level courses, which is often a reason why students really do not make it to the finish line. So the compact was developed over time, and Superintendent Vargas was a member of a small task force of superintendents, college presidents, and community partners that drafted this set of agreements. We gathered feedback from a number of stakeholders, including your cabinet, other cabinets, the Washington Student Achievement Council, and community members. And the compact really evolved over time to be a much more inclusive document of practices that were especially honoring the cultural competence of staff in districts like Kent. We signed the compact in June 2014, and now we're really rolling it out as a means to educate people about the importance of collaboration across systems. And so some of our next steps are the discussion today of your board resolution, and we are also working on a communications plan so that we meet your needs and the needs of other district leaders and community college presidents so that you can get the word out about the importance of districts and community colleges, really making some critical decisions together about how to best support students, especially new high school graduates. And we're aligning this work with the strategic plans of the Roadmap Project, community and technical colleges, and school districts. And I'm going to talk a little bit next about some of the connections in Kent School District's work and how the compact is really honoring what is already in place here. So we're fortunate to have Race to the Top as a means to really accelerate work in school districts across the roadmap region. And so what that means is there's been an investment in academic acceleration here in Kent through your partnership with Equal Opportunity Schools, as well as support systems through AVID. And we're excited that Race to the Top is funding PASA this year in Kent Meridian High School. And we in our College Access Network have a lot to learn about how we can be better engaging parents and community members. We also are utilizing the coalition as a means to communicate. And we've seen a really strong partnership emerge between Kent School District and Green River Community College. We're especially excited about some of the work that the district is doing in support of iGrad, so that Opportunity Youth have a place to go to really re-engage with school. And iGrad is really teaching other programs across the state so that more Opportunity Youth will be served in the roadmap region. We also are working in close partnership with our equity team in terms of using, in terms of ensuring that our Race to the Top grants are honoring kind of the needs within your school district. And we are excited about the work that Green River and Kent have done regarding student placement. They were really the first in the region to use transcripts as a means of identifying students' readiness for college level work. And we hope that through the coalition we'll continue to support ways in which districts and colleges can find creative ways to work together. So I want to stop here. This is a board resolution that we've drafted, and in essence, it's articulating Kent School District's support for the Puget Sound Coalition for College and Career Readiness Compact. And just pause quickly for some questions.
Questions?
I had two questions. One was, I was curious if the coalition was looking at dual enrollment, you know, high school, college, as sort of one of the strategies to achieve the goals.
So we've invited school districts through Race to the Top to have dual enrollment as part of their larger strategy. And if there are particular questions you'd like us to take on, we would, I think, really welcome that. What we've really focused on in this past year has been college placement, as that's just been a huge issue and opportunity in the region.
Okay. And are you, after, beyond the placement, are you looking at then graduation in college and success there? Because I know often the data shows that students enroll, but then aren't able to successfully complete.
Yes, we just, the coalition was just awarded a grant from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation that will be supporting completion coaches at Green River and the Seattle colleges, which we're really, you know, looking to Walla Walla Community College to mentor us, to provide a strategy to better support students who are close to completing, but may have become disengaged at one point in time.
Right.
We see that as a missed opportunity and want to build on the success that's taking place in Walla Walla.
Okay, that was my follow-up. So here's my second question. I'm wondering if the coalition is also coming up with state policy recommendations, you know, to address to the legislature, that I know that that's something that I and probably my colleagues would be willing to, you know, help to support moving forward. And in particular, in my conversations on behalf of the board with Representative Orwell, that I know she's particularly interested in this topic of increasing access to higher ed for our students.
We are in a couple of ways. We commented on statements regarding the college-bound scholarship and its value, and we are eager to hear about what the outcome of the next work group is. And Kent has also been a leader in that work in terms of being the first school district to have an annual conference that engages college-bound students. And we followed that work closely, essentially because I began that work when I was at the College Success Foundation. We also are in the process of reviewing the Roadmap Project's Cradle to College Statement, which is looking holistically at the need for increased dialogue and collaboration and understanding of education as a cradle to college commitment in our state. We also worked in close collaboration with the Seattle colleges around adding the SAT as a means to place students in college level courses, which we saw was a rich opportunity given that students are taking the SAT for free in the region.
Yeah.
And welcome more suggestions.
Great, thanks. Any other questions down there?
I'm good.
Debbie, how about you?
Sorry, I had to come off mute for a second. I am just really excited by the different things and the different partnerships and the things that we're doing as I look back over the past 8 years and how, at least as a district, we've recognized not only early learning, but also the connections and the importance of doing those connections with our higher education as well to make sure our students are successful in life. So just thank you for the work. Karen, did you hear any of that?
Yes, we did. Thanks, Deb.
Okay, good.
Sorry.
There was a pause, I wasn't sure.
We welcome further advice about policy areas to take on and ways to really continue to support these commitments. We're very grateful about the work that Kent is leading in this area and look forward to further collaboration.
We're excited to be doing that and being partners with so many different agencies and schools. It's really exciting. All right. And we've got the resolution for this is under 5.0 on the board approval. Next up is the Safety Services Monthly Update. Do we have any questions on that? We've got our people, Tim Govich and Jared Kesner here. Welcome.
Hello. We actually brought Officer Jeff Williams, who's our SRO from Kent Meridian High School in Mill Creek.
Commander Kastner had other obligations this evening.
All right. Do we have any questions?
Yeah, play 2-2-1 too. Okay. So I guess the first thing I wanted to say was thank you for incorporating the having that discussion with elementary schools on the bullying harassment report and adding that into the incident reports. I think that'll be really helpful, and I was wondering if that's going to be available in the middle and high schools too, or it's just an initiative, initial discussion, or?
Are we referring to the incident tracking and the reporting
Yes.
capabilities for the administrators and counselors and that sort of thing?
Yes.
Yes, that is all the way through the middle schools and the high schools, along with the safety officers that are there to assist them.
Okay, great. So I wanted to ask about the marijuana incidents, and just looking at the reporting, I just see a real hike in the drug and alcohol area. And so I guess I'm wondering, the way it's now listed, and I didn't catch this one earlier, but we have the schools listed and the incidents. We have the schools listed and we have race and ethnicity on the side, but we don't have it by incident. And I was wondering if we could get that information just to get a sense of which schools have higher incidents of drug and alcohol and substance abuse. It's not really clear to me, and if you had any sense of where those incidents are really happening.
We could absolutely add that. It's going to cause this report to grow quite a bit because every school will then end up having their own view, because as it is displayed right now, the school only shows up if there's a count, an incident count in that category for that month. And so for you to see a trend line, what we would end up doing is just running the report for every single school and maybe having each school be represented by a line color or a
Not
cell.
a trend line. I guess just, as you're presenting by month, when you're showing the incidents, just showing that by school. So you wouldn't do that for the whole year, just to get a sense of where is this happening and is it getting addressed, or see that trend. I don't know if you follow me, but we can talk about it separately.
So, Maya, I think we do have a session scheduled for December 3rd to go over looking at the safety service reports and others to see how we want to change it. Would it be okay if we waited until that work session to make additional changes to the report?
Sure. And just one other thing I wanted to ask was the All-Stars at Kentridge. That was a partnership we had with the city of Kent some time ago at the middle schools, and I'm wondering if it's the same program, if we're working with the city on that?
That I'm not actually sure. I'll have to work with the safety officers there at Kent Ridge to see those details. Each officer takes on with some of these programs something that is interesting to them or something that they enjoy working with the kids. So I'll have to get more information and get back to you on that.
It was a great program. My son was one of the mentors a long time ago at the middle school, so I'm glad to see it's expanding.
Great.
Thank you.
Debbie, any questions?
Nope, I'm good.
I think we're good then. Thank you very much. All right, the next for discussion and/or approval is Resolution 1456, support of the Puget Sound ESD Compact. And I'm asking for a motion to approve Resolution 1456 to support the Puget Sound ESD Compact.
I so move Resolution 1456.
You have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion or questions about the presentation that we had?
No.
All right. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed? All right, the motion passes. Consent agenda. Does anyone want to pull anything from the agenda for discussion?
No.
Oh,
I'm good.
I was going to say, this might be a first.
Yeah.
Did we already look at the, oh, yes, sorry. It's not the first.
Okay, we'll take that back.
Okay. So I just want to make a suggestion for the approval, 6.04, approval of school improvement plans.
So you want to pull that one?
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody want to pull anything else? All right, so looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda minus 6.04.
I so move that we approve the consent agenda minus 6.04.
You have a second?
Second?
I'll second it. Oh.
All right. So we have the motion and second. All those in favor of passing the consent agenda minus 6.04, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, motion passes. So let's see, do you want to talk about 6.04?
Yeah, I just want to suggest maybe in the future we move that for information only and not under approval, under consent agenda. I'd like to abstain from approving it, quote unquote. Not that there's anything in there that's inaccurate. I just don't feel like I'm informed enough to approve the school improvement plan, although I'm very comfortable in what's in there, and I really am thankful for the information and being able to access that information. So I just wanted to make a suggestion and abstain.
Is that something we have to
So-
vote on? Is that a legal thing that we have to approve?
No.
No, so Karen, if I could, one of the reasons why, if we kind of thought of it more like the curriculum. So when we approve a curriculum, we don't approve every little thing in it. We're approving the overall. So each individual school has gone through and approved their SIP plan, and we're just giving our final, I guess, kind of like, yes, we accept the plan that they've come up with. So the schools actually go through a process where they approve them and work through them, and it's more of just a formalization of it.
Okay.
I guess, that's a really good point, because we don't read the curriculum that
We don't what, Russ? I couldn't hear you.
I don't think any of us reads the entire curriculum. Maybe Karen does.
Right. So like when we get a new curriculum, we don't go through, we have the opportunity if we wanted to request one to read it, but you don't usually go through every individual detail of that curriculum.
Right. So I guess maybe, I really appreciate Maya's point, though, because it's a tremendous amount of faith and trust that we are showing with a consent agenda. But then with that comes accountability, and when we're approving something that, I guess we're just like members in Congress that vote on laws that they don't read to some extent. And that's not especially a good practice to follow, but maybe we just need to read the consent agenda policy and what that means for us. I mean, I really appreciate what Maya's saying, because if we're approving something but yet we're not fully informed, I guess we have the opportunity, but then, that's a full-time job. More than 40 hours.
I guess Oh, go ahead, Dr. Sturgery.
No.
Oh, I thought he was saying something. I guess I look at it more of not, maybe approving is the wrong word for it. Maybe it's really that you're accepting the plan.
That's a much better way to.
And so I would say that maybe instead of saying that we're approving, trying to figure out how it's actually read, instead of approval of the school improvement plans, maybe it should be acceptance of the school improvement plans.
Okay, I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Or just carry it as information and just leave it at that. Touch it as information and then go on. You don't have to accept it.
It does say it's annually reviewed and approved right now, but if we change that to accepted by Board of Directors.
Yeah, I like the acceptance
Yeah,
language.
I like the accepted part because then I think it does. One of the things that I know we were trying to establish is that this really was something that was important and that we thought added value. And so rather than approving, I would be in favor of changing it to accepting.
Can we just ask for a motion to accept? It says approval up there. Can we just ask for a motion to accept? Is that legal?
Yeah, you can modify.
Okay. All right. So I'm looking for a motion to accept the school improvement plans.
I'll make the motion to accept our school improvement plans.
Do you have a second?
I'll second that.
All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was a good suggestion, Myron. Okay, we're moving on to informational. We have the general fund object expenditure summary report. This is no action required, just information only.
No, these are just information items. The first one is a little more detail, and then the financial report is more detail than you'd ever want. But the purpose of putting the financial report back on the board agenda, so it's not, it becomes more transparent to the public.
Thank you so much, yeah. Yeah, I just want to thank Dr. Stedry and his team for spending a lot of time with Debbie and I and going over all of what we really want to see. You know, the financial statement is typically hidden somewhere on the website. Nobody's able to find it, but it's there. But this makes it a lot more clear. And also, it's done by object, and so we have a better sense of which program, department that these expenses belong. So if we have questions, I think it'll be much more apparent what exactly the expenses are for. So thank you so much.
All right, and with that, we are to the communication part from the audience. I don't think we have any blue cards. So, okay. Do we have anything, superintendent's report? Did Lee leave you anything, or? Okay.
Wait a minute. Oh. All kinds of trinkets in here. The first item is just a quick comment or two about the elementary online training second step. Someone, Dr. Del Giudice.
I believe I passed that to Ms. Everett earlier today, and you should have it in writing up there for the sake of accuracy. I can try to remember what I wrote, but since you already have it.
I'm still not following you.
Should we wait?
Oh, I got it, okay. On Friday, October 31st, new elementary counselors were trained on the second step curriculum for anti-bullying. A comprehensive overview was provided, and experienced counselors assisted new counselors by sharing their current practices for using the curriculum and tips for success. Translated, there was a professional development on that very page that you asked about. Next one is just a comment about the communication audit that we're going to go through, and I'll have Mr. Loftus bring that to you.
President Strauss, Vice President DeBruler, members of the board, Dr. Stedry, Kathy. We've talked about this before, but it is coming up. It's next week. Next Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we'll have 2 auditors from INSPRA, which is the National School Public Relations Association. They'll be with us for the entire time. We'll be having 20 focus groups that they'll be talking to, ranging from sizes from anywhere from 5 to 15 folks. Parent groups, PTA, teacher groups, union representatives, different types of employees that will be meeting with them, community leaders, community advocates, etc. They've also already completed a number of electronic surveys that have gone out to a little over 100 of our staff in various forms. So they're compiling all of that. They'll be coming back then with a written report by the end of December. We can invite them if we'd like to come and make that presentation directly to you in January. One issue, though, came up. We had the board scheduled for next Tuesday evening, but that's also a time that's now been allocated for meetings regarding the superintendent search. And so we needed you to look at other options. One of those options, I believe, was 4 o'clock that same day, Tuesday. And I know you already have meetings starting that were already starting at 5 o'clock and running through 9, I believe, Kathy, or something, or 10, or later. So I didn't know if you wanted to add an hour there. We could move it to the Monday evening, the night before, at 7 o'clock. Or we could move it to 7 o'clock the Wednesday morning and serve breakfast. So you've got a lot of options, but all of them include an hour here, either in addition to your Tuesday meeting or on a Wednesday or on Monday. So I think probably the best thing to do would be for you three. Kathy and I will send that out to you if she hasn't already as far as the options. And if you could get back to Kathy with what's the best one so that we could have as many of the board members present for their component of the audit. One thing I'll say too, this morning I was describing this group and I was using the term audit, and I was thinking, I said like the IRS and they're going to look at everything, and Chief Wynn corrected me to make sure that we, it does have an evaluative component, but more than anything, we're just really busy around here. We work awfully hard, and when you're working so hard, you're kind of looking at the road, the steps right in front of you so you don't trip, and sometimes you just need to take a breath, look at the horizon in front of you, see where you really need to be going, and also look at the horizon behind you and see where you've been and see the great things that we've accomplished. So this is going to give us a chance to look both behind us and in front of us.
I'd also like to take this opportunity to recognize Mr. Loftus and his team and the work that he's put into this already. As you imagine, a performance review like this requires a tremendous amount of paperwork that we have to send off so that they can see the type of communications that we've already produced and what our schools are currently sending, putting together the various committees for this group to interview and get feedback from the community as well as our various stakeholders. And so he's been at it in addition to school closures and everything else. So thanks, Chris.
I just make a comment too about NSPRA. It's a Class A organization, and they really do a lot of good work across the United States. The scary thing about it is it's all the mouthpieces for the school districts in the United States, so you have to be a little careful with them. So, next item I have is the CELT 5D in-house training. We trained 20 staff and teachers, teacher leaders, principals, and assistant principals as central office staff as trainers of CELT 5D. And the purpose of that is to build our own capacity and sustainable for professional development as we move forward with this. The first group of teachers to be trained by our own trainers began last week, so we're beginning to do more and more of our own training. And the last thing is the anti-bullying task force update. And although the work of the board-appointed anti-bullying task force was completed with the creation and adoption of the required board policy, prohibition of harassment, intimidation, and bullying, and development and training on the Kent School District Bullying Incident Tracking and Reporting System, the work to eliminate bullying in our schools continues. On Monday and Tuesday of next week, a group of administrators will be attending the National Anti-Bullying Training Conference in San Diego and will return and share their best practices that they've learned down there. Also on December the 3rd, a work session will be held prior here to update the board on the progress of using the incident reporting system, so you'll have a better understanding of the data that we're bringing you as we work through that process. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, Dr. Stidry. Russ, anything?
Yeah, quite a few things. Caleb, we're on the home stretch, and your parents, and I forgot your brother's name, but they owe you big time for putting you through this evening. So we only got like 5 more minutes, man. So I met with Dr. Behringer to talk about adopting the class of 2018. I like to begin with the end in mind, and I have yet to decide if I'm going to run again, but that's regardless. I would very much like to take them under my wing, and I think it fits into kind of parental involvement, and I'm in a unique position to maybe mentor 592 students. So met with him, talked to him about that. That was a fun meeting. We'll see if it comes around and what it actually means, and certainly we'll share those thoughts with you guys as they develop. I had a great Kent Schools Foundation board meeting, and it's coming to us that we're really in the position to raise tens of thousands, if not, I'm going to dream big, hundreds of thousands of dollars, to be more nimble and either augment or supplement activities that the district's doing. And thank you, Mr. Loftus, for meeting. Have you met, or you're going to Friday? Yeah, so we're going to try to connect with the district, make sure we're not having competing interests, but that we really are, like I said, augmenting or supplementing some of the gaps with our needs. Appreciated the inclement weather today. All 3 of my phones were notified. I don't know, but then I saw on Facebook where a lot of parents weren't called. So I think we do an update with the schools on getting us their phone numbers. But again, I don't know if we're going to continue to have polar vortexes or other things that hit us this winter. But any additional outreaches that we can do to parents, maybe through Facebook and or the website, update your phone number with the district. Here's the link. Because for a lot of us, phones still work. Encouraging people to sign up for the text notifications from King 5. I don't know does the district notify via text as well, or is that through King 5?
We do. We have that option, and there's also the school monitoring system, which is run by the Puget Sound, which is what the media picks up. We recommend that in addition. And then, of course, you can go down the news media route. Today was the first time where we actually did the auto dialer messages to staff, and then we did Facebook posts and sent out emails to all the email addresses that we had in the district. And Ms. Decker recommended today that we should probably pre-record all of the various potential scenarios in various languages, and we're actively working on that. So at the next event, we can do that in multiple languages right from the very get-go as well.
I really like the text notifications because in the event of power outages, you're really covered, and almost everybody has a cell phone now.
Yeah.
And I know that a lot of kids were still walking to KM today, right? Because the power is out, you don't know.
Yeah.
So, but in any event, I thought it was handled great today. The Wellness Committee is continuing to hum, but I've skipped it in lieu of the foundation, so I haven't been on the Wellness Committee, but that portrays my confidence in the Wellness Committee. I think some really good work. I'm very, very impressed with the intern that the School of Public Health has given us for that. And that's it for now.
Okay, so I have a few things. I wanted to mention, well, first I wanted to mention just to Chief Wynn, thank you for setting me up electronically for my trip to India, and I heard that you could hear all my honks, all the car honks and everything else. So it was very clear, and no cock-a-doodle-doos, but we had a lot of those too. But it was a really great trip, and so I just want to thank you for being able to connect for the last board meeting. Also wanted to mention regarding anti-bullying, Alex Chin, his daughter, Christine Tang, has just released her book called The Little Flower, and she's a student at one of our middle schools, and she's sort of documented her stories, and it's written in a very simple form, but families are finding it very helpful to read through those stories. She's only 12 years old, and it's on social media and on the internet now, called The Little Flower. So at some point, it'll be nice to have them here just to talk about their story. I think it's very powerful. And then I wanted to mention thank you to those who were able to make it to the Rise Up Community Development Corporation scholarship banquet with Pastor Braxton, Dr. Barashade, and oh gosh, who else was here? I think Paige Mallier, and we had Miss Euland, yes, I'm forgetting names. Miss Martin was there, and a few others. We had Mary Rigger also at the event. So we had a really nice event, and last year, I believe, they gave about $9,000 in scholarships to Kent Meridian students. So hopefully they've raised a lot of money for our students this year as well. And then finally, let's see. Actually, I think that's it. Oh, and we've been really busy with the superintendent search, so I've been spending a lot of time on that as well. Okay. That's it.
All right. Well, I had reported to you all that I was going to be going to the Washington State PTA Legislative Assembly, and I wanted to thank both Community Connections staff as well as IT staff for helping with a presentation that I did there around English language learners. And the Washington State PTA voted to include that topic on their legislative platform, so that was really exciting. I also had the opportunity to attend a PASA class at Kent Meridian High School, and I very much enjoyed that and seeing it at the high school level. And it was really exciting because the topic was AVID was being discussed as part of it, and so the KM parents were really excited to hear that AVID was going to be coming there, because there was a parent there from California who had other students who had been involved in AVID in the past and was really excited and wanting to know more information about AVID. So that was go back to I'm planning on doing the same.
Karen?
That's good. This is maybe a little stale, but I was at the candidates forum here, and it was I thought really well attended, and there were really a lot of candidates here. It was great, and just be able to sit down and ask them about education and how they thought it was going to be funded, and the students too, all the high school students. Yeah. It's great. They were hearing it. So, and I also, and this is a couple weeks ago, but I joined the KEA for the Pizza and Politics, and I really enjoyed that. And I enjoyed hearing directly from the teachers, and it makes me want to connect more and get into the schools and talk to the teachers after school or whatever. So we know we talked about that. All right. Debbie, how about you?
So I dropped for a few minutes, so I apologize, but I'm back. I did just want to remind or see from the board, make sure they all know that we did get the Board of Distinction again from WASDA. And so I know, Maya, I think you're going to be there on Thursday at the WASDA meeting.
Yes.
Excellent. And so I will be accepting that on behalf of the board. So thank you for doing that. And then also I just wanted to say thank you for how smoothly things seemed to go this morning to Dr. Vargas and staff. I know I talked to Dr. Vargas at 5:30 this morning, and they had made the decision very quickly in regards to the wind and canceling school. So thank you for handling that so well. And then just a reminder to the board to also check your email. I'll be sending you some information for you to review in regards to meetings that we have upcoming in relationship to the superintendent's interviews and the RFP interviews that I'll be getting out a little bit later tonight. So I think that's all that I had for right now.
All right, thank you, Debbie. And I think with that, we are adjourned.
How many schools were without power?